Hello, welcome to Wonder.wander homeschool. I know it has been a very long time. We've had a death in the family of my grandpa, so we everything kind of went on pause for about a month after school got out, or the month of. So I'm now going to go over the big old mess I have here on the table of all of the curriculum that I went through this year, of things that I could still find that we used. I know I went over how things were going with some of them on my last video, which I know was a while ago. If you have any more questions and I can go dig those up, that would be great. I can do that. But I look at this table and this is a lot of the things of the curriculums that I used, and some of them I used a lot of, some of them I did not use for very long, and that would be in those videos as well. So let's take a look. I will go, I guess, from my kindergartner. I have a kindergartner that I just had, and he's going to be a first grader. I have my second grader that's going to be a third grader, and my fourth grader going into fifth grade. So this is all of the spring semester materials and curriculum that we used. And I'll just start going over it. Let's jump right in. So for my son, my youngest, let me get around this table. We cleaned out this area, but okay. So for my youngest, we had done, the very first thing I did was I worked on Foundation Phonics with him, which I know it is a preschool, more centered curriculum. I definitely recommend it for preschool or TK, pre-K, but it also did really help him because he had gone over his letters. Let me show a little bit. We went over his letters in preschool really well, but I don't think he really got to practice as much as he could have of the reading part of it. So this was great because it taught a lot of the different sounds and vowels, and it put the sounds together, how they blended, and then there'd be a little worksheet after. Most of this has the worksheets pulled out, but there'd be a worksheet like this that you could pull out and do some tracing, and we went through it from there. And then eventually they'd have some reading practice right here, and then they'd go to the next letter. And what I liked also about this book is, because it is a Christian company from Master Books, it also kind of taught a little bit of the Bible story in there. So you had some Bible in there as well, kind of built in. I highly recommend this for new readers, especially entering kindergarten, or maybe even a little bit before kindergarten. If you have an advanced reader, you probably don't need that. Then we also did All About Reading. I used this with both of my older children, and that was great too. As you can see, this is the workbook, and I was tearing it out as I went, so there's not much of it left, but it's usually pretty thick. I actually gave and gifted the teacher's guide to a friend who has a preschooler. So that was really great for him. Again, it just reinforced everything he learned in here and helped him continue to grow in his reading skills and comprehension skills. It definitely is something that you just want to take your time on when it comes to all these big word practice pages, because sometimes at the younger ages, they just don't want to sit still long enough to do the whole thing. So some days we would do one page and then we would do another. And even the curriculum guide, the teacher's guide, says take it at your own pace and your child's pace, and try not to go longer than 20 minutes per lesson. And then for math, we started with Math with Confidence because I love it for my other girls, for my other children, and it's always been good. I've never done the kindergarten before, so I gave it a try because I didn't want to start him off too heavy. And it was very simple, very gentle. I tried to follow all the activities with the book. I just didn't feel like it felt like he was really understanding the concepts without needing the lessons as much. So we did eventually just kind of start going over counting and practicing and going through the workbook in succession, kind of like any other workbook. I know that they are important. They do have book recommendations usually at the end of each section. And as you get older, it's going to be as you get into the higher levels, it is going to get more complicated. And so as it gets more complicated, and this is kind of closer to what the first grade starts to have, where it gets the idea of the groups of 10 and numbers. And then, actual subtraction going on. this is a lot of stuff that really jump-started him on the ideas of adding and subtracting. And then I think what really helped was the groups of 10 being pictures of like an actual bag of things. So he understood these are the bags of 10. These are the single units. And then we did all of this. He loves the dot to dots. That was really fun for him. And then you got to do a picture for each month, which helps them learn how to read a calendar. And some estimating at the end. A little bit of clockwork. We're still working on that. But yeah, he had a really fun time looking at shapes and all of that. This was a great experience for him. We did end up finishing this book, and we ended up going to the first grade book I would say about halfway through the year. So he did the first grade Math with Confidence. So it's just one of those things you just want to go at your own pace and your students' pace. But I still always am a huge advocate for Math with Confidence. I love the gentle introduction to math and the foundational skills that it instills in your children. And I have heard from people, they say it's too easy. It's not enough structure, but I really feel like it's helped my fourth grader a lot. Well, now fifth grader. And my third grader, you know, she is not very math minded, and it's really helped her with her struggles because it wasn't asking too much. Speaking of my third grader, I also did, for my kindergartner, I also did for history. It was like an all about me from, I want to say something in Smiths. I think it was Little School Smiths. It was an all about me, all about the world, all about my state, all about my country. And it kind of went in the order going from your who you are, then your house, then your neighborhood, then your state, your city, your state, your country, and then the world. So at the very end of that, he got to make a paper mache world and draw his different shapes. We looked at a globe of like, the different shapes of green and blue for what a globe looks like. So that was really fun for him. We did a little bit of a street, and he got to kind of learn his street number. It was a very simple intro to social studies for him. And that's what we did this year for him. And then for my third grader, I talked a lot about hers because we were having a struggle finding a good curriculum for her because her learning style is very different than my oldest. So what I worked really well for my oldest just was not sticking and not working well for her. So what I did is I looked into a new a new curriculum called English Lessons Through Literature. And I know I talked a lot about it. I was really excited about it. And, I think it has a lot to give. It's a very Charlotte Mason style curriculum. It starts with, usually a lot of these were the fables, the Aesop fables, and then they'd have, they would have an Aesop fable in almost every lesson. Some of them would be a narration lesson where then, you'd tell the story and then they'd retell the story. You would, at the beginning of each section, they're very, very short. Let me show you. They're very short. I mean... How are you showing it? Okay, so the way it started, we do, like, for example, this is lesson 5. There was, let me see if you can see that in the light. It's a noun, a thing, and it'd be a reading from The Wonderful Wizard of Oz, and you kind of do a chapter every day. It'd be a noun is the name of a person, place, thing, or idea, and you'd say that, and it kind of became repetitive so that they could remember it. That was a little simple for my second grader, but it still worked because she did need the gentle approach. And so she did enjoy that. It was very comfortable for her. And it had usually there'd be like a paragraph explaining kind of the idea of the noun, or whatever topic of grammar they were talking about. Then there'd be a poem. Partially you're supposed to, according to this curriculum, when I was reading it, you're supposed to memorize a poem and then have them and come back to them. It may just be my approach towards learning. I don't necessarily for my children make them memorize it. I had her try to memorize a couple poems, but I didn't keep coming back around to them. I think maybe if it was like I only had one child that I could focus on that with, I would have done that. But I just had too many. My hands were a little full with all 3 of them at such different ages. So since they had different curriculums, I just feel like it was a little harder to focus on one curriculum and do it as well as I'd like on one like this to do it fully. And so then there would be an Aesop fable that was next. Like this one was a Robert Louis Stevenson. There were a lot of Robert Louis Stevenson poems here. Then they had like the Dog in a Manger, Aesop's fable. And then there'd be an exercise in their workbook or notebook that you could use to do some copy work or to practice like a sentence of, maybe editing a sentence. In this case, obviously, they're teaching about the nouns. So like, can you circle the nouns or underline the nouns? And then which ones are proper, which one are common nouns. So it got them thinking about these grammar skills. And it just kind of progressed pretty well where, ended up, going to we went through Wizard of Oz and we read through Peter Pan. We did the Blue Fairy book as well, which she loved all the stories from the Blue Fairy book, even though some of them are kind of dark and scary. So I didn't read all of them, but it has a lot of the more tame ones in there, and she just really loved it. And then there was a YouTube channel that I was able to find a bunch of these fairy tales from the Blue Fairy book in a cartoon. It was something that I had watched when I was a child, and it was really cute to be able to see. So the story of Rose Red, and I think it's Snow White and Rose Red, and they really loved that. There's a little gnome and stuff that they catch by the goatee, and it was really fun. So she really enjoyed that. That's something that she actually wants me to reread, or as she gets better at reading, maybe she'll go and read through this again. Worth it though. It's a great book. So I really do think I got a lot out of this for her. I don't think it challenged her, but it was nice since she had been having a hard time just with solidifying her reading skills this year. It was nice to have something nice and gentle for her. I did try to use this to help her with her reading, and I will say, at least for us, I had said this in a video already, that this just did not work. It was a fail for me. It wanted you to teach all of the phonograms, which is great, but it kind of just had it be more like flashcards, and that was not the style that was working for her originally anyways, where she would learn. She wasn't really retaining it. So I did try, but if you can see the levels that you get to for reading, technically she can read that, but I hadn't started her reading with all of these different rules of the different phonogram sounds and the symbols, so that just ended up being kind of confusing for her instead. So if you started this when your child was first reading, before they already had learned how to read the basics, I feel like it'd be a lot easier because there's no habits of what they're expecting to look at. I think it definitely is intended well. I just did not have the time, or the style was not working for her, where in the time that we had trying to teach all three of them fairly. We ended up eventually doing reading.com. That helped a lot. She's doing that right now. And I feel like that, along with going through the Good and the Beautiful books for her level, it helped her go over the different, the vowel teams, or the, it's not a phonograph, it's the other, another, I can't think of it right now, but basically where you have the letters that make a sound together, like the CH and the PH and all that stuff. So that has been really helpful for her to have that. And it's just repetition and practice for her. I think that's helped her in her confidence the most. And then just practicing reading, it really is. It's helping her finding books that she actually likes the stories of, has helped a lot. For math, I did do a review book for her this summer, which was I think Spectrum for subtraction, because she was having a really difficult time with the order of subtraction when it became double digits. And that has really helped her this summer a lot. We did do Math with Confidence, and she absolutely loved it. And everything in there she did get. It's just she used manipulatives the entire time. And that's okay. She's taken a little longer, and her style is a little bit more hands-on, manipulative based, for her to get her number sense a little bit more clean and clear and memorized. So I have no problem that I went back. I don't feel like that's a fail of the curriculum. I think it's just, and even in the curriculum, it's okay with that. But the curriculum does set up options in ways that really helped, like with the 10 frame situation, that really helped her to have something to look at and to visualize. I think the win for us was probably using dice. I got a big bunch of dice, a huge bunch of dice, and then I just had her have the group and then count out how many she needed to subtract, and then subtract it by counting down. And that's something she really grew in this year, which is great, because she used to kind of freeze up whenever she had to count backwards, because for some reason in her mind it just wasn't ready yet to remember what number came before. And I'm not quite sure if she has dyslexia or dysgraphia, but I don't think she does. I think it's just her learning took a little longer to have it click, because it seems like she's not having an issue with it as much now. I did try Beast Academy to kind of supplement too, and she loved the comics. If you can see in it, let's see at the beginning, they have comics for the ideas, which as she reads more, I think she's gonna like reading the comments, and that would help with the ideas. But she did not like the style of these different ways, the Common Core style that they taught it in. That is a different way than what she's used to. And since she's already a little stressed out about the simple addition and subtraction, trying to do it in different ways was just not working for her yet. And so that was for my third grader. For my fourth grader, along with all of them also had handwriting books. I love Good and Beautiful's handwriting books, the way they do it. Handwriting is for the cursive for my fourth grader. So she really gives good practice, and they always love being able to do the color or the maze at the end, which is just really great. And she's just really loved learning cursive this year. And then for my third grader, she was still doing print. She'll probably do a little bit more print this next year, and then I'll have her go into handwriting in fourth grade. She has done a little bit of the handwriting book. She did have the level 3 handwriting book, which just introduced some handwriting, I believe. But my only issue with that is they learn the cursive and then they start speeding through on their printing. So I do like more practice on the printing. And then for my kindergartner, I did a Zahner Blaster, I think is the name, for kindergarten writing, and that helped him. And then I went and gave him the handwriting level 1, or the printing level 1 for. And so for handwriting, they were all doing that. It's kind of like their first thing in the morning that they could do. It's something they could do independently, which is always nice too, to get the day started. I did try for language arts for my daughter, because over this summer she had done the level 4 for Good and the Beautiful language arts, and so she already had done that, and the 5th one was about to come up with a new version, and I was waiting for that. That didn't come out until the spring, I think, or that was the level 4. So I was waiting for the new version of level 4 so she kind of get 2 of them in, because they were very different. And it would have just been great to have them for the reading books. She really loves the new books that they've been doing alongside their revised editions. So we tried starting with this for the purple book, and it did not last long. It was a little bit too simple. It didn't really have a nice flow for the teacher either. I know some people really love it. I just feel like it's almost too simple at some parts, and then it's asking them to read a lot. It was like for the lesson 2, it wants them to read Paul Revere's Ride from Henry Wadsworth Longfellow, and that is 4 pages long. So it's a lot of reading for a poem. Her attention span just wasn't there at the beginning of the school year. I think now it is. It did do a good job of reminders for rules for writing, which I did like that. So it has the rules for writing letters, capitalization kind of skills. And so, I mean, the idea of it at a glance is great. I just didn't like how it implemented. I was really excited for the book studies, and it just didn't really work. She actually didn't even want to read Farmer Boy, because right now she didn't want to read about a boy. So she was into Nancy Drew this year, more girl-based storylines. And so let's see. I tried to do a research thing on this too, because I like the research project. So I don't know, it just didn't end up coming together. I think I did talk about that in one of the videos, so that's just kind of like a quick review on that. We did end up doing writing with rhetoric. I did the second one, and then I did book 3, which is narrative 2, and she really thrived on this because she loved the challenge. This is my language arts kid, the kid that she just loves challenges for grammar, challenges for writing. It's just something that she enjoys. She gets frustrated, but she really overcame a lot. This one talked about a review of narrative types, and it's a progymnastia. Yeah, it's a creative approach to the classical progymnastia. Gymnasmata, sorry. And it's just been really great for her. I'm not going to continue this right now because I am going to try essentials in writing this fall. But this was something that was really great. I think the next level up from this might be a little bit stretching for her. So I think getting some more basic writing approach practice would be great, because it does expect them to kind of just write the essays. There's a lot of rewriting it, and some of that was a little stressful for her. And also I want to work on her printing so it's a little cleaner, because she started to rush through it as well. So this one had different types of narratives that she read, and a lot of it was about protagonist, antagonist, a lot of narration based, and there was some changing the dialogue, adding in adjectives. Like, I really love all it asked her to do. It challenged her really well. So I really do highly recommend writing with rhetoric, especially for like a 4th grade, writer, someone who really loves applying grammar and stretching their knowledge. And then of course for 4th grade math, she did Math with Competence, level 4, and she absolutely loved it. She thrived on it. The only thing that held her back, which I do recommend for anyone doing this curriculum, is really get on your kids to memorize their multiplication tables. If they don't, it will make their lessons take forever, because there's a lot of multiplication in here, especially because they do a lot of division in 4th grade, long division, and long division basically is just the opposite. It's just multiplication. So as she got along with the school year, she got a lot better at her times tables and memorizing them. She's still working on it because she was a little stubborn on wanting to just not memorize them. And so she kept writing it out on a piece of paper, which, if that's the way that she's going to learn, it's the way she's going to learn, which is fine. She did get to it. She learned a lot. It really helped her get a good foundation for what she needs to know for 4th grade math. We will be going on to the level 5. And I think if you have a child who is not super math minded like my child, it's just a matter of getting them to practice at the foundations and all of the skills that I was nervous about, like, division, multiplication, because you practice so much and you do the 2s and the chants for the 10s and all that when they're younger grades. It has really helped her be very successful in math, and she's not anywhere near as stressed. A lot of it she was able to complete on her own without my help, as long as she had her guide for multiplication, so she understood the style of the problem. She's able to read the questions on her own. It was really great. It was great for her to have a little more independence. New concepts, obviously, I taught her, and the teacher's instructor guide is really awesome. It holds your hand and it lets you know exactly what you need. I think the longer you do this curriculum, the more likely you are to kind of use this as a slight guide, kind of like it's almost like you're clinging to the book less aggressively when you're teaching it, because you kind of know the flow of how they teach the lessons. It doesn't change as they get older. It's kind of you have the warm up, and then you have the review, and then you have the practice that you go over, and then they have their work that they practice and implement on their own. So I really love that. I really cannot say enough good things about Kate Snow's Math with Confidence. I am excited to do the 5th grade level, and then I know there's a 6th grade, and then we will sadly have to graduate out of that and find big kid math, and that'll be a whole nother thing that I will hopefully be able to keep updating this channel on. I know I don't get on here very often, but hopefully, as we get a more stability of our schedule amongst our crazy life of having 3 kids, hopefully I'll be able to do a few more posts here and there, so it's not quite as big of a jump. I do appreciate all of the comments and questions, and I hope that I was able to answer them where it was in a helpful way, because that's what I'm on here for to do, because I know how hard it was when I first started to try to figure out the right kind of curriculum, and I just want to be able to help in any way I can. So this is getting kind of long. It's 24 minutes, so I will try uploading this. So that's kind of a review of this school year. Oh, I totally forgot about the main levels, so scratch that. I'll go over this really quick. We did, for history, I did our Star Spangled Story this year. I did try another one for science, another one for history, and it just did not work. So I don't remember. No, for history, I did do this. This was what I started with, our Star Spangled Story. I was worried about it being too much like a textbook, but even though it looks like a textbook, it's kind of written like a textbook. It reminds me of the ones I had as a kid. But as you're reading it, you realize it's told in a whole different way. It's great because it goes all the way through. It has stories that you weren't expecting about actual characters in, not characters, actual people in history. And so it kind of tells the story of people, immigrating, or people in, these different situations, the same different parts of history. It talks about them, and then you're kind of learning about what's going on. You also can be reading a book along the way. I actually had already read Benjamin West and His Cat Grimmelkin. It's a great book. But we didn't do that. But the review questions were always very helpful and helped it be more thoughtful. I love that they had a verse at the end of every chapter. And the kids really loved learning about history this way. I do think I love doing a little more hands-on. We are going to be doing another round of American history this year, trying to cover it for all the grades through a different curriculum. But I really did enjoy this. We did the part 1, and then part 2 we got about halfway through. And so we're probably going to finish this up, and then we'll kind of start over with a different curriculum that is more Charlotte Mason story-based from Beautiful Feet books, because I know they have a lot of projects on there. The only thing that was a bummer about this year is because we were very busy, a lot was going on, a lot was changing, we had to move and everything. We did not get to do very many projects. So this was more just reading it and getting it done. Same thing with science. The science I had picked originally was the Beautiful Feet nature study, and we got to make jam, which was great. And we loved reading the book, but the book was already a book that I had read them, the Brambly, I can't remember the name off the top of my head. But the books along with it were good, but I just feel like it was a little too young for my 4th grader, and my 2nd grader was okay with them, but I feel like it wasn't giving them what I was hoping out of science. It wasn't enough experiments, and I really love experiments, and they really love experiment, hands-on based, or just learning more about the world. The application to real life was just not there for them as much. It was more like, hey, go collect leaves, and we did it, but it just wasn't. I was kind of feeling like it was missing something. So I ended up getting this kind of out of desperation. If I need something so that I know they're at least learning something. And they do have a few experiments in here that you can do that are very simple. We only did a couple of them, but I know that whenever we go over this style, we did our weather and water, our in our planet Earth. We didn't have time for our universe, but it's like very rich with information, and I really, really loved that. It starts with like questions at the beginning of it, or like, how did the flood affect the climate on Earth? And we were able to go through that, and it talked about climate change and how that makes sense. It makes sense as they're learning, because my children are growing up in a non-denominational Christian household, and so they're when we're reading the word, or they're learning it at church, and they're learning about the flood and all these things. It's really cool that Master Books was able to come in and take real science and talk about how science and just kind of emphasizes how awesome God is, and how awesome and purposeful and intentional He made the world. And so this book really helped them learn about when it comes to storms. And we had a really stormy spring or late winter, I guess. So that was really great. They were able to really learn what was going on around them, and what happens with all these extreme weather and everything. So I really did enjoy teaching them this. Of course, it's meant more for junior high age. So it's more of like a read aloud to them. My youngest, my kindergartner did not really, he took little bits and pieces of it, the really cool parts, especially since it's weather changing. They loved talking about the glaciers and fossils, how fossils happen, the Grand Canyon, erosion, and minerals. They really loved learning about different kind of minerals and gems and all of that. So I don't think they learned in depth to the point where I don't know if you could ask them, they'd understand, but I think as we come back to it, which I plan to in a different science curriculum, they're going to go like, oh, I remember that. I hope they remember stories of that. I do feel like it got a little rushed because we, after all the other work that we were working on. Science and history, I feel like, was more like a quick, let's read to it to make sure it gets covered. And I really love when we can do hands-on activities and really bring learning to life. During the first part of the school year, we did different units from Little School of Smith for the early adventures of the New World. There was a Viking unit. I think there's a Mayflower unit, a Jamestown unit. Was that it? I think that was it. And so that was great because, right, it was the first of the school year and it went all the way to Thanksgiving. And then we kind of jumped back into our Star Spangled Story where that started around that time. So that was one of my favorite parts of history this year, is that they were able to have that. And the Little School of Smith always has activities they got to do. They got to make a Viking ship out of like paper, kind of like a 3D art thing with oars and paint, and they loved that. So we've also been doing, this year we did outside the box creation, and they love that. It's a different medium of art every month, and they bring a book. I don't know, the book always represents part of the medium of art, but more than anything, it's great that they have all the materials for you, and they teach you about the history of the different mediums and why artists chose that medium, and different artists that come from that medium that are famous. It was great. And then they got to go make their own art. I think they give you about 3 projects that they let you do. And that has been really fun and really special. And they love learning that way. So that is it for our 2025-2026 school year for my kindergartner, 2nd grader, and 4th grader. And I will do the next video hopefully soon. I'm not sure if I will today because it's a little bit steamy in here. I will update what I have set up, and actually I am waiting for a few things to come in, so I might wait until I get all of my curriculum in for the school year. There's a few things that I won't be able to get until the school year officially starts, because we are starting a charter program, and to use the funds I need to wait until the school year starts for that. But I think I can get most of it. I got most of the curriculum ordered already. That was, within reason for my budget. And so I'm excited to be able to have that come in, and I will put up a video for that as soon as it does. So I hope that this was not boring you too much. I know it is a long video. I just feel like it makes sense why my head was spinning a little bit this year, because as I look over the curriculum, there's a lot of changes, and it was a lot of stuff this year. We also did switch over from English lessons through literature in the spring to The Good and the Beautiful level 2 for 2nd grade for my 2nd grader, and she still has to finish that because we did start, halfway through the school year, but that actually was like perfect for her to do the gentler approach at the beginning of the school year, and then back into the grade level approach of The Good and the Beautiful, where it is a Charlotte Mason inspired style of learning, after she had a little bit of help with her with reading confidence. So yeah, I hope that this is something that helps you guys. If you have any questions about any individual curriculums, that's what I love doing. I love looking into it. I love seeing the different sides of it and aspects of it. And as I teach them and figure out their learning styles of my children, I really love finding out what curriculums. Also, I find that parents tend to find some favorites of how it's taught, and how much the kids, you can see the joy that comes from them in homeschooling. So continue on. I wish you all the best. God bless.